Thank you very much for coming. And I would like to start by thanking my instructor, Mr. Shawan, and my friends, especially CSI and the others, for supporting me all along. My name is Berihun Mekonnen. Actually, maybe I'm the one who came from probably a very distant background and then started data science. My background is in social sciences, most currently, social anthropology. So I have worked for many years in civil service, in research, in teaching. So this is my first time to try a new field, data science, probably after many years working in a different discipline. So overall, I have taken this data, probably the police report from local.gov, local government on Dallas City. So the data, I have tried several data. I have tried to deal with World Bank data. I found it in a way very difficult to manage that data within this short period of time. It's a little bit challenging, very interesting. I can give you more global perspective in many ways, for political, social, economic data on that. I have tried it, but I anticipated it will take me too much time to deal on those areas. So I looked for another data. I found this one. So this is a little bit manageable directly. I can do with that. But when we found it, I think the data has several problems. It was not well structured for one. There were several things missed. It was unorganized. Names have been, for instance, Dallas has been misspelled in several places. And it was also represented in different ways. Dallas as a city, Dallas, Texas, with a comma, without comma, with a space, without space. So it was, you can see the same city represented in the data several ways. So that was one of the challenges in the data. So as you can imagine, it took several hours to clean up, to deal with it. So as a as a person who is dealing with data, the first time it was a little bit challenging, but with the help of my friends and Mr. Shawan, I was able to deal with it. General observation in terms of the data, in a way, the police arrest shows a predictable trend of increasing arrest starting, when you take the time, the time of arrest starts around the afternoon, around 3 p.m. and continuously increases until midnight, and it comes down, and at around 5 a.m. it stops until the next afternoon. So you can see a trend from the data, what time is the higher, the high point of arrest, what time is the low level, probably non-existent in some of the areas. From the data you can see there are drug-related arrests. I anticipated it to be a lot. It was not that much, significant. It's a significant number, but compared to the data, which was close to 20,000 entries, it was about close to 1,100. It is small, but when you see it from a social point of view, it has also its own impact. It's significant from a social point of view, but from a numerical point of view, it's very small. As the trend shows in news reports and other discussions, the trend also shows a high number of African Americans are among those who have been arrested. So this is, I will mention it later. This is one of the issues we were trying to predict, who was going to be sort of to build a predictive model, but the data is already skewed. So if you do it on that, it's an obvious result. You can come up with an obvious type of prediction. So we dropped that one. There are also, most of the arrests is, U.S. people from Dallas, a large number from other cities outside of Texas. But a certain number, a significant number, are also foreign-born, like a large number being from Mexico. Then Honduras and other countries comes in. There are smaller numbers from the Middle East and other countries, but the foreign, born, it's not a large number when you see it, again numerically. but I mean percentage-wise. But I mean it's such a significant number when you see that across the board.
Got a quick question. Where are those zip codes the highest under the rest?
740. Actually, this is close to where I live. I live in Richardson. This is in Dallas, where you have the border between Richardson, Garland, and Dallas.
Okay.
So this is one of the cities. 635 and 75 junction, the high as around the area.
Okay.
That area is that's the first one. This one is South Dallas, 16 and 17. Goes to the southern part of Dallas.
Okay.
So these are, I think, areas where we have some of the places. It also includes, I just mentioned some of them. 75231 also is part of it. But these are, with 3-4 digits of, numbers. I will show you,
Okay.
So Harold, how many times did you get arrested?
In terms of weeks, as you can anticipate, in a way, the Saturdays, the highest arrest in Saturday, then Friday, then Thursday. These are, when you are closer to the weekend, you have higher arrest. When it's during work day, people are sober, so you don't get much that type of activities. The other thing is that I will come back probably down then the data discussion. The large number of arrestees are homeless. So one of the ideas was the concepts we're going to predict was that with the arrest, in the business area, in the hotels or other premises on residential areas, but most of it is in open space like parking in the business area, parking in the residential area. So the parking in parks in the parks area, or recreation area, when they are arresting the parks area. So open spaces are common denominator here. So it's, and again the data becomes very much skewed. So it becomes obvious to deal on those types of stuff. So the first thing, as I explained in a way, I try to ingest the data to understand it myself before I started talking about it. So I try to, another story was that it has 78 columns, and then as we said, 19,600 something, 17 rows. So I have to reduce, it's a very large data, relatively, compared to what Martin said, the thousands of, close to 2 million rows, it is relatively small. But for me, it was large enough, so I have to reduce it and then select better features. So the first thing I started was eliminating column by column. I'm not going to show you those parts. So later on, I came and then consulted Mr. Shaban, and he showed me a little bit handy way of reducing multiple columns at a time. And then we have also learned how to column in a certain number of data, columns, before you even call the whole data to load on the Jupyter notebook. So that was in a way partly a learning process for me. As you see, these are the columns, as you see it, a lot of columns. So we have chosen this smaller number of columns. So we call the data. So we see some of the data is. So one of the things we did was that to show them later on the map, we converted, we introduced longitude and latitude into the data so that we can map those zip codes that you saw earlier, where are those zip codes are located across the city of Dallas. So this is a process of, we have called some of the libraries to help us to load the lat and long, and also NumPys and other important libraries to do that. The other thing is that also there are also zip code confusions in several areas, so we have to also clean up that. Somewhere nonce empty columns, there was no report of zip codes, so we have to also fill in those empty spaces, as part of the imputation of the data. Those are, after we converted, these are the examples of coordinates that we found through the process. So we try to combine addresses. I mean, for instance, arrest this local address, arrest this local city, arrest this local state, arrest this local zip code. This is, local zip code, home zip code. This is where the person lives or where the person is arrested. So they have tried to categorize those information. The next thing I have tried to do was that to load I have to save in a way, as you know. I mean, if I leave it in a way as it is, and I don't save it, the next time I load it, I have to wait. The long wait that Martin has been talking. Hours actually. Some of the data on my laptop still, loading. So I have to also cross-check with Mr. Shaban to take some of the data to reload it. So it takes so many hours. So I have saved it on my computer so that it will be easy to reload it in the first transformation. The data which is transformed from the raw data to a level that is readable and understandable. Then I load it here. So we started the imputation to see which area should be considered, which columns should be re-engineered probably to be better and usable in the process. Here I think I have mentioned, for instance, for Dallas City, you have Dallas unknown, DALLAS. You can see how disorganized the data was. So we have to clean up and create some sort of understandable or more manageable type of row. This is one column for one information, but you have it across the board. The homeless also, some are homeless, some is null. There is no. We assumed those people without home address, without zip code, those people are most likely to be homeless instead of people with IDs or some type of identification. So that was part of the data imputation process that we tried to categorize and create some sort of sense out of it. Home states is, as I said, most of the arrestees are residents of Texas. The large number is from Dallas, but there are also people from across the U.S. You can have it, Tennessee, Oklahoma, or you can call it Ohio. So those are some of the states that are involved in the process. So we have to try to fill in some of the information. When it's necessary, we drop some of the data so that we can have. But the other issue is that the drug types, you have processed marijuana, cultivated marijuana. For our consumption, in a way, marijuana will be a much more sensible category than having a different level of marijuana details. The crack cocaine, powdered cocaine, that's also another area. So we categorize it together and created unorganized data. The other issue is that missing values, as I said earlier, as I mentioned earlier. For this one, either we have to drop it or we have to fill it with the information. That is the most likely area. So the first one was there were two unique values which were not much important for the data analysis. We dropped them. When I say we, I was also consulting my mentor and teacher, Mr. Shara. So we try to make sense out of it. So we dropped that information. The other issue is that when there was a large number of data, about 219 of it. So if we drop it, it's really, affects the total number of data. What we did is that the large number, so this in terms of sex, in terms of gender. So what we did is that we took the actual categorized, the male, female type of gender, then we took the ratio and we distributed the 219 accordingly. A large number to the male one, a certain number to the female one. So that we didn't in a way skew the data. So we try to make it as balanced as possible. So this is how we did it in a way. We took, we split the major data. We get the percentage from that. Then with that, we use that ratio to distribute the 219 missing values according to the percentage ratio. So we tried it, we checked it for the null value in terms of sex, then it came up clean. So in terms of premises, I think it could be a repetition. This is the premise area. We wanted to consolidate the areas where the premises where the arrests were caught. So this is in a way parking lot, apartment, parking lot, park, condominium, townhouse, parks from different places, and we wanted to put them together. The same goes single family residence, multiple residence, occupied, unoccupied. This also can be categorized in the same place. So this was in a way consolidating the columns and creating a meaningful category or feature. Consolidating the birthplace also. This was also across the board. So this is how we try to impute them. We try to give them values and make some sort of, as you see, a large number of it happen in Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Colorado, Oklahoma. You can see them across the cities. We try to, one of the missing probably, least probably, we could have put what you call the foreign born as a feature, but for our purpose, this worked for us. So we passed it and worked on this way. The other thing was that we categorized the data in terms of people who lived in Texas and people out of Texas, so that we have a binary type of two categories, because the large number is from Dallas. Next from Dallas, in a way, people out of Dallas, which is in Texas. So Texas could contain a large number of people. Then the rest of the US as another category. So accordingly, we did that. We came up with the two categories. We divided the data according to that value. So we take it back in a way. We have, as we said, we split the whole data into two. So we have to bring the two, the divided data together. So we can concatenate or merge the two categories together and create an integrated file, so that we can go on and review our data frame. The weapon, whether people had armed when they were arrested, this is also the data that we have. Majority of Okay, now as you see, still a couple of them are they have missing values according to we had been filling in the missing values for all the rows, the columns. So one by one, we managed to fill in and then created and organized the data. So the other thing I did was, together with my instructor, to do some sort of exploratory data analysis. As we see, the null values, all the columns have equal rows, and the type of data that's there. So it was cleaned up and then became more manageable. So we did, some sort of visual representation. In terms of age, I haven't mentioned probably earlier, people between 16 and early 30s are among those who had been, highly been arrested across the board. The male is larger than the female, I said, but still the younger generation of girls are also high in number. So this is, but in terms of date, it includes from 2014 up to early 2016. So most of the data is from 14 and 15. In terms of birthplace, I mean, you can also see it in a way, non-Texas and Texas. I think because we have merged a large number of non-Texans together, you can see in a way how balanced it became. In terms of age, also, you know, drug-related and age-related and related, as you see. So yes, those people say they were arrested with drug-related issues were smaller in number, and those who were arrested without drug, are large in number. But the issue is that within the drug, there are people who has also prescription medicines in a way, which are reported as part of people who have been arrested with drug-related issues. In terms of premises, you can see in a way what type of premises they were: in airport, business facilities, highway streets, motor vehicles, inside the motor vehicles, others, outdoor area, public, private, parking lot, personal services, recreation. All this, across the board, there have been, arrests. So that shows you how many.
Berihun, let's speed it up.
Okay. So we try to map it, the original map. This is a plot which shows you, the arrest areas in terms of plots where the arrest has been made.
You can show the other Jupyter notebook, like the other notebook that's up. Is that starting too?
Yeah.
Is that the one with Shravan?
Yes. Okay, yes. Okay, these are also, in different, let's not to take, the time of others. I will show you the general, yeah. There are still, still we are trying to show, how the arrest has been distributed across. So here we try to see how, if we are able to see, some sort of different characteristics of the data. Doesn't show much of a difference, but that is, as part of the learning process, we're trying different methods, to depict what type of data, how the data reacts when we use different methods of representation. Here, I think in terms of time, you can see the high points are, this is depending on the arrest across time, You can see, a low level during the early morning up to 3 around, afternoon. Then you can see, the variations. Then it comes down and it goes up. So that's, how time-wise, how this has been, shown on the data. Okay, I think the other map to show up. Yeah, this also shows how you can see how the arrest, it shows you different colors from which area has been let me magnify it a little bit.
I think the size is good. It's going to be just
Is it okay?
Yeah.
You can, when it's quiet, there is no arrest. The point is shows you how it becomes
smaller. It will go smaller.
It was smaller
because the map is cut off and not go down. Oh, that's okay. One more pop. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So it shows now it is quiet. When it started, it bubbles up, and the more bubble you see, the more arrest happens during that hours. you see now it starts to pop up and then it increases. So that goes parallel with the time frame that we have mentioned earlier.
So it's starting at about 3?
Yeah.
It starts about 3, then it increases until it reaches a peak at midnight. Then it starts to slow down, then it becomes quiet, then you have a quiet period, then it picks up again. So as I said, in general, this was made with the help of, I think I have to thank again my instructor, Mr. Shervan, and my friend Sisai, and the rest of you for helping him along the way. But this is a beginning for me, and then I have made a lot of efforts. I'm still in the process of learning, but I have seen a lot of good stuff. So this was it, and I thank you.